Okay, strap in everybody because this deep dive is headed straight for Fairgard. And let me tell you, the intel you've given us, it's a lot. 9 different regions, each one with its own tyrant running the show.
A whole buffet of tyranny.
Basically. But the craziest part, this tracker thing you've dug up, apparently it holds the key to flipping the whole system and giving power back to the people.
It's wild, right? Almost like a public mood ring, you know?
Yeah.
Measures how much pushback the rulers are getting.
Love that analogy. So we're not just figuring out this tracker, we're figuring out how to game it, how to use it to yank that power back where it belongs.
Exactly. Think of it less like reading a thermometer, more like rigging it to get the temperature you want.
Okay, I am so here for this. But before we go all Ocean's 11 on this tracker, set the scene for me. What's Fairgard actually like under this monarchy? And I'm using the term loosely based on what I've seen.
Imagine, right? A kingdom, but each region is basically its own little dictatorship, king and queen and fairground. They're more like figureheads at this point. Their power depends on keeping all these regional rulers happy.
Okay, so super dysfunctional family then. And the tracker measures how badly each kid is acting out.
Kind of. Lower the tracker, the more iron-fisted the ruler.
Uh-huh.
Higher the tracker, people are getting restless, maybe ready to revolt. And you, my friend, can be the one to fan those flames.
Whoa, okay, no pressure or anything. So this tracker, is it like magic? Or just some super accurate poll nobody told us about?
No magic, thankfully. But definitely a reflection of what the people are feeling. Think of it like a pressure gauge. Lower the number, the tighter the ruler's gotten by that. Well, you get the picture. Higher the number. Things are about to blow. And with the right nudge, boom.
I'm suddenly very aware of how much power we might have here. But all right, let's get into it. Heartland, where do we even start? It's like the food factory of this whole kingdom, right? Ruled by a dude who'd rather be gambling than governing.
Classic. But that's exactly what makes Heartland so interesting. You see, Duke Mansfield loves his games of chance. And where there's a love of gambling, well, let's just say someone like Sir Leopold, his right-hand man, knows how to play those odds to his advantage.
Oh, this is already juicy. Okay, I'm picturing grain prices suddenly skyrocketing because Mansfield bet the whole harvest on a bad hand of cards.
It's not far off. Imagine this. Leopold whispers a carefully chosen horse's name in Mansfield's ear, pulls some strings to make sure the odds are in their favor, and suddenly, Heartland's grain shipments are lining their pockets, all nice and legal-like.
Talk about playing the long con. Okay, we got to get ahead of this for sure. But next up, Valazar. And this one, I don't know, man. The intel on Duke Ragnall makes it sound like everyone there worships the ground he walks on. What gives?
Velzar is fascinating, right? It's like textbook cult of personality. But here's the thing. They supply most of the kingdom's army, the Breathtakers, plus there are these rumors about a Mind of Proteus cult working within Valazar. Combine those, you're not just talking blind loyalty, you're talking mass mind control.
Hold on. A cult that messes with people's minds. This deep dive just took a dark turn. Okay, next region, please, before I have an existential crisis.
Good call. Umahim it is. Now, this is where things get interesting. Think lavish parties, jewels everywhere, and a duchess who might actually be a vampire.
Okay, you had me at vampire. Now tell me everything.
Duchess Margaret, right. The rumors, they're persistent. But here's what's really got us puzzled. Potential ties to Duchess Verana over in Terra Lycium. Think shared secrets, power struggles spanning way beyond just their little regions.
Duchess Verana. That name keeps popping up, and not in a good way. What's her deal?
Buckle up, because Duchess Verana is a whole other level of ruthless, this woman. She controls Terra Lithium, yeah, but her real power comes from something else. Opium. She's basically running a drug empire, and not just within Fairgard's borders either.
Whoa, hold up. So we've got a queen pin with global ambitions. This is getting out of hand. And what's this about her sticking her nose into that whole Heinzman-Cowes-Rose feud?
Million-crown question, right? It means she's playing a bigger game. Not just happy with her little corner of the world, she wants to control the whole board. We need to watch her carefully. But for now, on to Porcalo.
Porcalo, right? Duchess, who's basically a pushover, and her advisor, Enagment Feldor, who's like the human embodiment of a question mark.
Seriously, your notes on him are basically blank.
Because he makes sure of it. That's what's so unnerving about Feldor. He's a shadow ruler, pulling strings from behind the scenes. Is he happy there? Does he want the throne for himself? We don't know. And that makes him incredibly dangerous.
It's always the quiet ones, right? Okay, remind me to never play poker with that guy. But let's move on, shall we? We've got Heltour next, and from what I'm gathering, Duke Portillo seems like he enjoys a good brawl a bit too much.
Oh, Portillo. Loves his army more than anything. Also not a fan of magic, which, considering...
Well, everything else we're dealing with, yeah, that tracks. So how do we even approach a guy who probably sleeps with a battle axe under his pillow?
Helter's tricky, that's for sure. But maybe that disdain for magic, that's the engine it. Maybe he just needs the right demonstration of its power, strategically speaking. Of course, it's also possible he'll just try to chuck us in the dungeon.
Or worse. Okay, I'm getting some real mixed signals about Helter. Moving on. Vimenine. It's famous for its blacksmiths, right? Seems straightforward enough.
Deceptively so. Duke Heinzman runs the place. And while he might look like your average shrewd businessman, let's just say his definition of side hustle involves human trafficking.
Ugh, that's awful. Okay, definitely not inviting him to any holiday parties anytime soon.
What else do we
You know about him.
He knows about you. Interesting, right? Sees you as a potential threat, but feels stuck because of political complexities, whatever those are.
So he's playing both sides, waiting to see who comes out on top. Classic Heinzman. All right, on to Crystalline, where all the magic happens. Literally. What's the deal with Fairgard's College of Magic?
Duke Grayen's in charge, officially. But there are whispers. Seems his wife might be the one really running the show. And not just because she's married to the Duke. Let's just say, charm magic is a powerful tool, especially in the right hands.
Okay, I love a power couple, but if she's using magic to control things, that's not exactly the kind of leadership change we're hoping for, is it?
It's a good reminder that not all magic users are going to be on board with our little revolution. Some of them. They like the power structure just as it is.
Right, gotta stay vigilant. Okay, that brings us to the big one. Fairground, the king and queen, the whole shebang. What's the story there? Are they just figureheads, or are they as bad as the rest of these rulers?
Hard to say for sure. On the surface, they project this image of righteous authority. But dig a little deeper. Rumors of corruption run rampant palaces built on the backs of the poor, lavish feasts while people starve. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
So basically, Fairground is the cherry on top of this giant, dysfunctional, power-hungry sundae. And we're here to spoil everyone's dessert.
Precisely. And that's what makes this tracker system so important. It's not just about measuring how much control they have, it's about finding the pressure points. The places where a little push can bring the whole thing crashing down.
Okay, my brain is officially full, but in the best way possible. So before we get to actually using this tracker to dismantle a kingdom, tell me more about this Mind of Proteus group. They're like the boogeymen of Fairgard, right? Always lurking in the shadows, pulling strings.
The Mind of Proteus. They're the embodiment of unseen influence. You can feel them everywhere, but nobody knows who they are, what they want, who they serve. Are they with the monarchy? Against it? Do they even play by the same rules? Nobody knows.
Okay, now that's just creepy. Talk about unsettling,
Okay.
but also kind of intriguing.
Intriguing, yes. But dangerous. Absolutely. Underestimate the Mind of Proteus, and you might as well hand them the keys to the kingdom.
Duly noted, no underestimating creepy puppet masters with a penchant for mental gymnastics. Okay, so we've got 9 regions to liberate, each more messed up than the last, all held together by this tracker system that's like the kingdom's cheat code. Where do we even begin?
Okay, gotta admit, after that last region, Heartland feels almost normal. By comparison, at least. But yeah, you're right. Control the food, you control the people, or at least make them really, really hungry.
Precisely. And Mansfield. With his gambling habit, he's practically begging for someone to outplay him. The question is, how do we make sure we're holding the winning hand, not Sir Leopold?
That's the million-crown question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because this Leopold guy, he sounds like he's 10 steps ahead of everyone. Trying to outsmart him feels like playing chess with a grandmaster blindfolded. Which is why we need to change the game entirely. Remember those rumors about unrest among Heartland's farmers? They're already hurting. Mansfield's little gambling sprees aren't helping, so
Yeah.
what if we just amplified that a little?
Amplified.
Yep.
As in, encourage a full-blown peasant revolt. Because as much as I love a good underdog story, I'm not sure I want to lead an army of pitchfork-wielding farmers.
No. Nothing quite so dramatic. Think more. Targeted discontent. A few well-placed rumors, maybe a strategically timed protest or two. Just enough to make Mansfield and his cronies sweat.
Okay, so we're not inciting a riot. We're
Yeah.
curating an atmosphere of unease.
Precisely.
I've always wanted to be called the voice of the people. Okay, so Heartland. Stage a little unrest, then waltz in with promises of stability and good governance. Got it. But what about Velazar? They actually seem to like their ruler. How do you even begin to dismantle a personality cult like that?
Velazar is
Yeah.
tricky. You can't fight faith with logic, right? And they have a lot of faith in Duke Regnald.
Yeah.
So going after him directly is a non-starter.
Right, because accusing their beloved leader of being a fraud is a surefire way to get laughed out of the region if we're lucky.
Yeah, exactly. But remember that Mind of Proteus group. They're strong in Velazar. What if, instead of attacking Regnold directly, we expose the puppet masters? Show the people they're being played.
Ooh, now that's just good strategy. Hit them where it hurts, their sense of autonomy. But how do we even begin to prove a connection between Regnold and this shadowy group? It's not like they send out newsletters.
True, but even the most skilled manipulators make mistakes. We need to look for inconsistencies, things that don't quite add up. Maybe a policy that seems out of character for Regnold. Or, and this is a long shot, maybe there are whispers within the Breathtakers themselves, people who sense something's off.
Okay, so we're talking about finding the cracks in Regnold's perfect facade, the tiny inconsistencies that betray a deeper manipulation at play. But how do we even get close enough to find those cracks?
Carefully. That's how a parent. We need to blend in, understand their values, earn their trust, become one of them, or at least appear to. Only then can we start asking the right questions, planting the seeds of doubt.
So we're playing the long game in Valazar infiltration, observation, subtle manipulation.